and you can see that I've got the edge of the blade thin enough that you can watch it move over the back of the nail. It's possible to get the blade thin enough to move on the back of a nail with the jig, but you'll have dulled the very edge and you need to hone it more to get it sharp. But if you're mowing in just grass, ideally you need a blade that is able to move on your fingers that thin. That way your honing will be removing a sensibly small amount of metal and it will be slicing through the grass at its easiest. If you're going through brambles and thick old dock stems and stuff like that, you probably don't want quite such a thin edge, because you're much more likely to get damage in it.
So it's good to have two, isn't it? Really?
Well, yeah, or if you don't have to, then you peen it to mow grass, you mow grass with it a bit, you hone it back into the slightly thicker stuff, then you go and mow your rougher stuff with it, then you peen it back to mow the grass again. So.
If you're cutting docks and brambly horrible things, do you have to do more peening or less peening? How many hours would one attack brambly things? Sort of really weedy edges.
I wouldn't tend to attack it for, you know, I would think that blade could do, you know, a few hours of grass mowing, and then after it's done that, it's in a condition where you could do a few hours of brush clearing with it. But then after that, if you keep doing that for too long, you'll just get into such thick metal that peening becomes difficult. It's much easier to peen if you don't actually get back into too thick metal before you do it again.
Yeah.
But with a bush blade then, if you've got a blade that you're habitually attacking with the nasty stuff, what would your peening regime be with that?
I would probably just occasionally peen it with the jig and do a certain amount of file control of the edge on a bush blade, just simply because it's acting more like a bill hook on a stick. So you can sharpen it a bit more like a bill hook in some ways.
I'm getting a ditch blade, and that would be
ditch blades
because it's for
are perfectly capable of mowing grass, unlike a bush blade. The ditch blades are very capable on grass.
It's more, I'm getting it specifically for ninja weeds on the edges of things, which is what I do most.
But Christiana was suggesting that, I mean, you can peen it with jig occasionally. That's going to do a good job. And then, just honing the edge. You don't want to be pitting it so it's ever getting mega thin then. The other way, if you're freehand peening, you can do two lines that aren't overlapping, so you do one a bit further back and then you miss out a bit, and then you do one on the very edge, so that you're not thinning it down quite as much before you're getting to that pointing it down edge peen.
When you've peened a grass blade, could you then just be in the field and it just go straight to your fine whetstone?
Yeah, I usually just go straight to the fine whetstone from peening. But depending on the state of the blade before I've peened it like that, if it's got some minor damage in it or something, I might be just taking that off with the medium coarse stone, and then I'll go with the finer stone, so I've got a nice smooth, but probably much too obtuse an edge for mowing, but an edge which is actually tending towards sharp, so that when I squash it out I've still got a really smooth thin edge, and if I've hammered it well enough, then the fine stone will take it. Sometimes I'll take the medium natural stone on it just a bit beforehand, particularly if I've got a blade that I'm only peening to go and mow brambles or something with. And I'm much more likely to have peened it to a thickness where a medium coarse stone might be required to just establish the edge bevel before you go to the fine one.